and you're just a pretty face.
Just to be whoever you are is no disgrace. Don't be scared if you don't fit in. Look who's in the reject bin. It's the Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Dolls like you and me. Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Made him perfectly. So if you got a bump on your nose or lumps on your toes, do not despair. Be like the Raggy Dolls and say I just don't care. 'Cause Raggy Dolls,
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls,
Raggy
are
Dolls.
happy just to be Raggy Dolls, Raggy Dolls, dolls like you and me.
It was a lovely, sunny, windy day, and the Raggy Dolls decided that it was perfect for sailing. As they made their way to the river, they came across Pumpernickel, the scarecrow.
Hello, hello,
Said Pumpernickel cheerfully.
well, if it isn't my old pals, the Raggy Dolls. What are you up to today?
We're going sailing, said Dotty.
Sailing, eh?
Said Pumpernickel.
I didn't know you had a boat.
Oh, yes, said Princess. We've had a boat for ages. It's lovely. We found it in the reject bin, said Back to Front. All that was wrong with it was the engine, and we fixed that, no problem.
Well, well,
Said Pumpernickel.
aren't you lucky? Where'd you keep this boat, then?
Down by the river, explained Lucy.
Mais oui, said Claude. It is, how you say, tied up, where no one can find it. Well, mind how you go, then,
Warned Pumpernickel.
be careful.
We will, said the Raggy Dolls, and they carried on their way. The Raggy Dolls had used the boat quite a lot since their very first trip. Sad Sack remembered it well. They were swept out to sea and had to spend the night on a strange beach. Now, all of them knew what they had to do on a boat. They even had a name for it, the Spirit of Adventure.
Cast off.
Ordered Dotty, who liked to be captain. The Raggy Dolls untied the mooring rope, and soon the Spirit of Adventure was skimming through the water, its sails trimmed to suit the breeze.
We'll steer upriver to the old windmill,
Said Dotty. Aye, aye, Captain, cried the Raggy Doll crew. The air was fresh, the sun sparkled on the water. It was a perfect day. This is the life, thought Sad Sack. The Spirit of Adventure cruised smoothly through the water. The Raggy Dolls passed a family of swans. The father came to investigate and swam alongside.
Good morning,
He said.
how far are you going?
Just up to the old windmill,
Ah, yes,
said the swan.
we've just come from there. You'd better watch out. There are noisy people on the river today. Take care.
We will, called the Raggy Dolls. And the swan swam back to his family.
I wonder what he meant by noisy people,
Said Lucy. I haven't a clue, said Back to Front. The Raggy Dolls sailed on until they could see the old windmill in the distance around a bend in the river.
What's that noise?
Called Dotty. Before anyone could answer, a huge speedboat came rushing towards them. It was bouncing and going so fast the driver couldn't see the Raggy Doll's little boat. We'll make for the riverbank, ordered Dotty. Prepare to come about. Dotty steered while the Raggy Dolls pulled the ropes and swung the sails. But were they in time? Yes, it looked as though the speedboat might miss them. But behind the speedboat they could see a man on water skis. He was holding onto a rope and leaning back and going at such a speed. Whoosh! He went to the left. Then whoosh! He went to the right. But then he came straight towards the Raggy Dolls. Oh no, moaned Sad Sack. He's going to hit us! A huge wave lifted the Spirit of Adventure right out of the water. The Raggy Dolls were tossed into the air, and they all landed on the soft grass of the riverbank. except Sadsack, who landed on a thistle. "Oh, oh, oh, oh!" he yelled. "River hogs!" But the speedboat and the man on water skis were out of sight. The Spirit of Adventure lay on its side, but appeared to be undamaged. Dotty found her voice at last. "Is everyone all right?" she asked. The Raggy Dolls picked themselves up and nodded. "I'm not," said Sadsack, rubbing his bottom. "Those prickles are sharp." Just then, the swan arrived.
I saw what happened. It's a disgrace. People are such pests. Are you all right?
"Yes, thank you," said Princess. "Just a little shaken." "Oh, do you think they'll be back?" said Lucy. "I don't want to go back on the boat until I'm sure they've all gone." "None of us can get on the boat until it's back in the water," said Dotty.
Can I help?
Said the swan. "Yeah," said Back to Front. "If we stand the boat up, could you pull it into the water?"
I think so.
And the swan reached down with his long, long neck and picked up the mooring rope in his beak. The Raggy Dolls heaved, and the swan pulled, and at last the Spirit of Adventure was back in the water. "Oh, well done," said Princess, clapping her hands. "We are so grateful." The Raggy Dolls gave the swan 3 cheers. The swan bowed his elegant neck and swam away. "We'd better check the boat for damage," said Hi-Fi. Luckily, all that was wrong was a few twisted ropes. The Raggy Dolls soon untangled them, and everything was shipshape once more. "I think we'd better take down the sails and use the engine," said Dotty. "The wind isn't in the right direction for going back." Claude, Princess, Back to Front, and Lucy took down the sails, while Hi-Fi started the engine. "Cast off!" ordered Dotty. Soon the Spirit of Adventure was happily chugging along. "That speedboat must be out to sea by now, thank goodness," said Dotty. "What a lucky escape we had," said Lucy.
Mais oui, said Claude. It is très fortunate that none of us was hurt.
"Poor Sadsack was, though," said Back to Front.
Landing on a thistle can be nasty.
"Yes, indeed," said Princess. "Are you all right now, Sadsack?" There was no reply. "Sadsack, where are you?"
Where's he gone?
said Back to Front. Sadsack was nowhere to be seen.
Doll overboard! Doll overboard!
shouted Claude.
What?
said Dotty.
Quick!
said Back to Front.
Get the lifebuoy!
Lucy ran to where the lifebuoy was normally kept. "It's not there!" she wailed.
Don't worry,
called Sadsack.
Where are you?
shouted Dotty.
behind you.
said Sadsack. The Raggy Dolls rushed to the back of the boat, and there, sitting in the lifebuoy, being towed along, was Sadsack. "Sadsack, what are you doing? Trying to water ski?"
No, that thistle really hurt my bottom, explained Sadsack. And this nice, cool water is making it feel a lot better.
The Raggy Dolls all laughed. "Doll overboard indeed," giggled Dotty, as the Spirit of Adventure headed for home.
Raggy Dolls,
Raggy Dolls are happy just to be Raggy Dolls, dolls like you and me.
One windy autumn day, the Raggy Dolls were up in the hollow treehouse, watching the leaves that had hidden them all summer blow away, one by one. "Soon all the leaves will be gone," said Princess, sadly. "Yes, and then people will be able to see our secret treehouse," added Lucy. "No problem," said Back to Front. "We'll camouflage it."
We'll what? said Sadsack. What's
"Camouflage," laughed Dotty. "It's a sort of disguise that makes something look just like its surroundings. Lots of animals use camouflage to hide from danger. Come on, let's get started." Sadsack wondered how they were going to camouflage a tree house.
How can a house look like a tree? And how can a tree look like a house? He thought.
The Raggy Dolls were soon busy gathering bits of bark and long strands of evergreen ivy. The idea was to stick the bark to the walls and put ivy on the roof. Then the tree house would look just like part of the old hollow tree. Suddenly, Princess noticed something. "Sadsack," she called, "come and look." Princess pointed to a moth hanging from a hawthorn twig. It looked just like a hawthorn leaf in autumn, yellowy brown. "That's a perfect example of camouflage," she whispered. Further on down the hedgerow, they came to a big pile of dead twigs and leaves standing in a ploughed field. "Farmer Brown must be tidying up before winter," observed Hi-Fi. Suddenly, from just around a corner, the Raggy Dolls heard a big tractor starting up, and then a loud mechanical whining noise. Lucy's knees began knocking. "Oh, my goodness," she cried. "What's that?" "Quick," said Dotty, "let's hide." The Raggy Dolls scrambled under the big pile of twigs and watched as the huge tractor wheels slowly rolled by. The whining noise grew louder, and they could hear the snap and crunch of branches and twigs being chewed by big mechanical teeth.
Oh, no,
moaned Sadsack. "Farmer Brown's tidying up all right," said Back to Front. "He's cutting the hedge right back." At last, the lumbering monster machine was gone. It had been very frightening. "Is it safe now?" whispered Lucy. Suddenly, she gave a little yell. "Oh!" 2 eyes were peering out of a dark corner. "Who's there?" said Dotty. There was a sniff, and a little pointed nose poked out.
"Never mind that,"
said a voice with a heavy cold.
"Who are you, and what are you doing here?"
There was another sniff. "Why, it's a hedgehog!" exclaimed Princess. The Raggy Dolls sat and listened as the hedgehog sniffed and sneezed and told them how he'd been looking for a place to spend the winter and how he thought this pile of dead wood and leaves was just right.
"So I hope you won't stay too long,"
he added.
"I've got lots of arrangements to make."
"But you can't stay here," said Back to Front. "Farmer Brown's piled this wood up for a reason."
"What's that?"
"Well, he's going to set fire to it. This is a bonfire."
"Oh, typical,"
muttered the hedgehog.
"That's just my luck. Just when I was getting nice and cosy."
"Don't worry," said Lucy kindly. "We'll look after you."
"I could look after myself, thank you,"
said the hedgehog stubbornly. "Well, don't stay here too long," warned Dotty. "Come on, Raggy Dolls. We've got a tree house to camouflage." The Raggy Dolls scrambled out from under the bonfire and set off back to the tree house, carrying their pieces of bark and strands of ivy, leaving the hedgehog muttering to himself about his bad luck and all the things he had to do.
"So much to do, and so little time,"
he yawned.
"I think I'll have a little nap."
And he curled himself up to sleep. In no time at all, the treehouse was unrecognizable. Its shape was completely disguised. It looked just like part of the old hollow tree. "Well, that's that," said Dotty. "Another good job done." "I think we ought to check on that hedgehog," said Lucy. "I'm sure he needs looking after." The Raggy Dolls agreed and made their way back to the bonfire. As they crossed the ditch into the ploughed field, Claude noticed a toad. "Voila," he said. "More camouflage. I thought he was a stone until he moved." The Raggy Dolls scrambled under the bonfire, and sure enough, there was the hedgehog, curled up in a prickly ball, fast asleep. "We must wake him up," said Princess. "Wake up, hedgehog." The hedgehog only snored. "Wake up! Wake up!" cried all the Raggy Dolls. Still the hedgehog slept.
"What are we going to do?"
said Sadsack.
"We can't shake his shoulders. He's too prickly."
"We'll have to poke him with a stick," said Dotty. "But very carefully." added Lucy. The Raggy Dolls took a stick and gently poked the hedgehog.
Stop it,
mumbled the sleepy creature.
you're tickling me.
Shh, everyone, listen. They could hear Farmer Brown whistling. Farmer Brown, he's coming, stammered Hi-Fi. The Raggy Dolls could only see his Wellington boots as they stopped right beside the bonfire. And then they heard the glugging sound of oil being poured over the wood. We must get out, now, hissed Dotty. But we can't leave the hedgehog, wailed Lucy. Quick, said Back to Front. Push 2 sticks under him. Farmer Brown struck a match and dropped it onto the bonfire. Flames quickly shot up, and soon the fire was roaring away. Farmer Brown moved off and began to pile up another bonfire further up the hedgerow. The Raggy Dolls ran for all they were worth. Hi-Fi and Claude carried the hedgehog on 2 sticks like a stretcher. At last, they all flopped down, out of breath, in the middle of the big field. Phew, gasped Dotty. That was a very narrow escape. The Raggy Dolls puffed and nodded, but the hedgehog was still curled up in a tight, prickly ball.
What's happening?
Said a muffled voice. You fell asleep in the bonfire and Farmer Brown set light to it, said Lucy. But you're all right now. We'll look after you.
I could look after myself, thank you,
mumbled the hedgehog, still in a ball. Well, really, said Dotty crossly. I think he's too sleepy to know what he's saying, said Lucy. Let's make him a home under the secret stairs in the hollow tree. He'll be safe there all winter. The Raggy Dolls agreed, and soon the hedgehog was snugly tucked up in the bottom of the old hollow tree.
We'd better camouflage the doorway as well, said Sad Sack. Then he really won't be disturbed.
Good thinking, said Dotty. And it was no sooner said than done.
It's not much of a life when you're just a pretty face. Just to be whoever you are is no disgrace. Look around and you will find people of every kind, like the Raggy Dolls,
Raggy Dolls,
Raggy Dolls,
Raggy Dolls,
dolls like you and me. Raggy Dolls,
Raggy Dolls,
Raggy Dolls,
Raggy Dolls,
made him perfectly. So if you're not at ease with your knobbly knees and your fingers are all fuzz, stand on your 2 left feet and join our Raggy Doll chums. 'Cause Raggy Dolls,
Raggy Dolls,
Raggy Dolls
Raggy Dolls
are happy just to be Raggy Dolls.